The top stories tonight in Y News. Investigators are considering human error and weather conditions as the possible causes of the C-130 plane crash in Sulu. The black box recovered from the plane will be sent to the USA for further analysis.
President Rodrigo Duterte says he is now seriously thinking of running for vice president as he tells his national political party to choose a winnable presidential candidate.
Experts say that there is no guarantee yet when the National Capital Region could be Delta variant resilient. The Department of Labor and Employment tells returning overseas Filipino workers
State volcanologists record short-lived phreatomagmatic eruption of Taal Volcano.
And a futuristic portal connects two countries in Europe. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, July 7, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Philippine Air Force denied reports that the C-130 aircraft that crashed in Patikul, Sulu on July 4 was overloaded. Meanwhile, pilot error and bad weather are the two angles initially being eyed by investigators as the possible causes of the plane crash. Leia Ilagan reports why.
The doomed C-130 plane that crashed in Patikul, Sulu on July 4 had a maximum capacity of 120 passengers. It carried only 96 people when it crashed. This was the response of Philippine Air Force spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Maynard Mariano amid circulating rumors that the ill-fated C-130 aircraft was overloaded. Mariano said investigators from the 220th Airlift Wing Aircraft Accident Investigation Board are looking on the aspects on the possible reason of the mishap as well as weather condition and human error. Raw footage taken moments before a C-130 transport aircraft crash showed that the plane appears to have overshot the runway.
We will be able to know the cause of the accident once po na-submit na po ang ating investigation team ng kanilang report po sa mga ating leadership. Right now, the team is on the ground and doing their investigation. They are composed of mga pilots, maintenance officers, medical officers, at sa ibang mga technical fields po na kailangan natin for the investigation.
Meanwhile, the retrieved black box of the Lockheed C-130 Hercules transport plane will be sent to the United States where it will be analyzed.
Wala po tayong kakayahan dito sa Pilipinas na basahin po ito at analyze. Ipapadala po natin ito sa United States po at doon po ito i-analyze at i-determine po kung ano po yung content po ng ating black box na sinasabi.
Latest military figures showed that 52 people were killed and 51 were injured in the crash. 19 military personnel who perished in the accident were already identified. Investigators were still in the process of identifying all of those killed through physical identification, dental records, and DNA testing. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, expressed its gratitude for the overwhelming support extended by members of the Tausug community and other villagers in Sulu during the military C-130 aircraft mishap. In a statement, AFP Western Mindanao Command, or Westmancom Chief Lieutenant General Corleto Vinluan Jr. said the Tausug people in Barangay Bangkal of Patikul Town were among the first responders when the military's Lockheed C-130 Hercules with tail number 5125 crashed. Vinluan said that aside from Tausugs, Kafgus and Cadre from Bangkal Patrol Base were also among the first responders who aggressively extricated more than 20 wounded soldiers from the incident site. The Joint Task Force Sulu is recommending to award the Bronze Cross Medal to the Tausug natives for extraordinary bravery in the face of great danger.
Meanwhile, President Rodrigo Duterte reaffirmed his administration's friendship with China, saying the two nations must sustain constructive dialogue and peaceful engagement. The Philippine chief executive also recognizes China's rise to prosperity and global growth. Rosalie Cos explains why.
President Rodrigo Duterte continues to value the friendship between the Philippines and China. He said the country is committed to further enhance it. The chief executive made the statement during his speech for the 100th founding anniversary of the Communist Party of China, or CPC, last night.
To further build mutual trust and confidence, we must sustain our constructive dialogue and peaceful engagement. This is crucial as the bilateral relations between our two countries expand and deepen. We count on China as a friend and a partner for peace and development.
The president said he is counting on China to stay as a friend and partner. He added China has risen and will play an important role in global affairs for decades to come.
We trust in the collective wisdom of the great Chinese nation, that China will use its newfound strength in defense of what is good and just for all humanity.
Meanwhile, the chief executive thanked China for its assistance to the Philippines to respond against the COVID-19 pandemic. China has donated 1 million doses of vaccines, which has paved the way for the government to launch its vaccination program on March 1, 2021. Under the Duterte administration, the Philippines has improved its relation to China in the economic and security aspect despite the controversies on the West Philippine Sea dispute. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Energy, or DOE, has denied the corruption allegations of Senator Manny Pacquiao, noting that the senator lacks research. Meanwhile, Senator Richard Gordon, who chairs the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, wants to see specific facts first on the allegations before calling for an inquiry. Harleen Delgado will tell us why.
The Energy Department maintains that the agency is free from corruption. This was in response to Senator Manny Pacquiao's allegations that there was an irregularity when the DOE awarded a contract to the Independent Electricity Market Operator of the Philippines without undergoing public bidding.
Mula sa 7,000 paid-up capital ay naging instant billion pesos company ang IMAP sa loob lamang po ng isang taon.
Energy Assistant Secretary Gerardo Erguiza Jr. explains establishing an independent market operator is mandated under the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, or EPIRA, and it does not have to undergo public bidding.
Medyo ill-advise po yata dito si Senator Pacquiao at nagkulang ng research, no, dahil wala pong ganyan na pangyayari dito, no.
The energy official also denied the conflict of interest claims between the market operator and the DOE.
Malayo po sa bituka yun dahil yan, hindi naman ho involved ang DOE dyan sa pagpapatakbo ng independent market operator. Pagdating sa operation, sa lahat ho, wala hong pakialam ang Department of Energy po dyan. Hindi ho kami makikipagsaraan dito, hindi kami magtuturo ng tao. Importante maipakita natin na ang aming departamento ay malinis at Malinis po ang aming secretary.
The DOE says it is willing to submit all the necessary documents and welcomes Pacquiao to prove his allegations. Meanwhile, Senator Richard Gordon wants to see the basis and evidence first before he convenes the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee for an investigation. In a statement, Gordon says the allegations must be taken seriously, but the committee must know first the specific facts before proceeding to an investigation. According to the senator, he has yet to receive any requests and documents from Pacquiao. Despite this, Gordon notes that he has instructed his staff to communicate with the authorities to find out whether there is basis behind the allegations. It is still unclear if the boxing senator will pursue filing a resolution to call for a congressional hearing into the matter. Jordan Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte announced that he is seriously considering running for vice president in the 2022 national election. He made a statement during his meeting with the executives of the PDP Laban in Malacanang last night. Rosalie Cos explains why.
President Rodrigo Duterte admitted that he lost his cool after Senator Manny Pacquiao said that corruption in government doubled under his administration. He said he had been controlling himself to talk about presidency for the 2022 national elections. However, because of the allegations, he is now seriously considering to run for vice president in next year's elections. But the chief executive wants to have a winning presidential candidate whom he can work with.
To the proposition that I run for vice president, medyo I'm sold to the idea. So, meaning to say, I am seriously thinking of running for vice president. But let me dwell into the reality of things. Sabi mo nga, if I run for vice president, tapos ang presidenteng na-elect, hindi ko kaibigan, the situation would arise na sabi ko I would remain an inutil thing there. Kasi pag wala kang sa presidente, persuporta, wala ka talaga. Ito ang dilemma ko. The president that will win must be a friend of mine to whom I can work with.
President Duterte defended his anti-corruption drive but admitted despite everything he did, he could not resolve corruption in government overnight. Senator Pacquiao has hit the anti-corruption campaign of the administration. Meanwhile, the chief executive mentioned about the alleged tax evasion case of the senator.
I remember he has a tax evasion case and he is been assessed to pay 2.2 billion ang utang niya na hindi niya binayaran ang gobyerno. Of all these fights, lahat na yan considered since the beginning. Maraming awa yan. Ang bilyong kinita niya.
The president clarified he does not want to run after Pacquiao on this. The fate of the PDP Laban as well as its front-runners for the 2022 national elections is still unsure. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
5 major political parties are seeking a coalition with Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte's party, Hugpong ng Pagbabago. The event could make the regional party the biggest political force in the 2022 polls. However, an agreement has yet to be finalized for the cycle to proceed. Nel Marie Buhok explains why.
5 major political parties wants to join and renew alliances with the regional party Hugpong ng Pagbabago or HNP led by Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte. These are the National Unity Party led by political strategist Ronaldo Puno, Lakas CMD led by former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, Puwersa ng Masang Pilipino led by former President Joseph Estrada, Nationalista Party led by former Senate President Manuel Villar Jr., and People's Reform Party of the late Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago. According to HNP Secretary General Anthony Del Rosario, they will finalize first the provisions in the Memoranda of Agreement it will sign with the 5 parties.
Well, in principle, agreed na po sila lahat in principle. Pinag-uusapan ngayon yung mga specific provisions.
One of its provision includes who the coalition will endorse for president, vice president, and senator.
There are some parties who are insisting that HNP should be the one to decide. No? Samantalang, mayroon naman mga ibang partido na ang gusto nila consensus.
According to Del Rosario, Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio has yet to make a decision about her potential presidential bid in 2022 elections. Meanwhile, Liberal Party President Senator Francis Pangilinan expressed confidence to Vice President Leni Robredo as the most qualified in the opposition group to join the presidential race.
Si Vice President ang ating nais patakbuhin. She has been Vice President for 5 years now, going on her 6th year. Nakita natin ang kakayahan niya, lalo na dito sa COVID response.
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook. An Octa Research fellow says Metro Manila may soon be resilient against the COVID-19 Delta variant. However, officials are urging to keep the vaccination pace in the national capital region. Aiko Miguel explains why.
Octa Research fellow Dr. Guido David clarified that the National Capital Region has a possibility to be Delta resilient, but is not guaranteed yet when. This is because the current vaccine coverage in the region is not enough to even reach the target population protection.
Yes, we are likely going to achieve 40 to 50% vaccination of the NCR before December, but I would be more cautious in saying that this will guarantee that we will be Delta resilient. We might not be Delta resilient even if we have vaccinated 40 to 50% of the population, or even 60% of the population. UK has, I think, 60% fully vaccinated, but they're having a surge with the Delta variant.
Dr. Guido David adds, in order to reach that state, 70% of Filipinos should be fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
I don't want to give the false impression now. Once we vaccinate 50% of our population, everything will be back to normal. But we will still need to basically have health protocols, because what we are seeing in other countries, if we're not careful, it can still cause some surges.
Infectious disease expert and vaccine expert panel member Dr. Ronchin Solante also said there should be more Filipinos inoculated to officially say that NCR or the country is Delta resilient.
It should be 70 or more. If you want to be resilient against the variants of concern, we need to have more people vaccinated. We cannot just give predictions that we are Delta variant resilient, when in fact we're still way below the target of the 70%, even at the NCR plus bubble. We need to fast track our vaccination. We need more vaccines.
DOH spokesperson Undersecretary Maria Rosario Vergere also said that they welcome the statement of Octa Research. However, Filipinos should not be complacent against the threat of the Delta variant. From the start, the DOH said they have aimed to prevent the entry of the Delta variant into our communities through stronger border control, and the existing quarantine protocols are intended to prevent or delay the entry of the Delta variant or any other variant of concern. Based on the Department of Health's report, majority of the recorded variants in the country is the Beta variant, which was first discovered in South Africa. From the almost 8,000 samples sequenced in the country, 1,386 were Beta variant.
Siya na po ang pinakakaraniwan ngayon na kikita sa biosurveillance, umaabot po ng 21.1% nationally of all the specimens sequence. And ito na po ang pinaka-common na variant. We have to really implement our PDITR strategy plus vaccination to be able to keep our cases down and manage them while we are safely opening up the economy.
Meanwhile, Philippine Genome Center Executive Director Dr. Cynthia Saloma clarifies that the Lambda variant did not mutate from Delta variant. Dr. Saloma encourages regions with high cases to submit samples to be sequenced, for they have not received samples in other regions.
Certain areas na may mga naka-NECQ, we have a number of samples coming from them, and for those areas meron tayong datos. Pero sa ibang areas po wala pa tayong makikita ng datos. Hopefully this week meron So let's say sa areas in Mindanao, nakikita po natin doon, let's say sa Zamboanga Peninsula, na marami po tayo nakikita doon na beta variant. Doon naman po sa lugar ng Davao, it's really a combination of both, no? Pero yung sa Bacolod at sa Iloilo, parang wala pa po ako maalala kung anong variant meron sila. In fact po sa Iloilo, wala pa po kami na-detect na variant of concern so far doon.
The country has no detected Lambda variant and has no local case yet of Delta variant. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippines tallied 4,289 new COVID-19 infections, bringing the total case count to 1,450,110. In its latest case bulletin, the Department of Health, or DOH, said the number of active cases in the country went down to 47,519. Of this figure, 90.4% are mild, 4.1% are asymptomatic, 1.68% are moderate, 2.3% are severe, and 1.6% are in critical condition. The DOH also reported that 6,399 more patients survived from the viral disease, pushing the total number of recoveries to 1,377,132. The death toll, however, climbed to 25,459 with 164 new fatalities. The DOH notes in its report that 4 accredited testing laboratories failed to submit data on time.
More than 16 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines are expected to arrive in the Philippines this month. However, Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. explains that vaccine deliveries may experience some delays. JP Nunez will tell us why.
Several local government units suspended their vaccination program due to limited supply of vaccines. National Task Force Against COVID-19 or NTF Chief Implementer and Vaccine SAR Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. explains that vaccines are delayed due to inventory and redeployment done by vaccine manufacturers.
During the first day of the month, nakakaroon po sila ng tinatawag na preparation for deployment. So nagde-deploy po sila sa mga second week pa po. And then yung last week, nangyayari, nakakaroon po sila ng inventory at nakakaroon ng redeployment.
According to NTF, there will be more than 16 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines expected to arrive in the Philippines this July. This includes the AstraZeneca vaccines donated by the Japanese government that will be delivered tomorrow, the procured AstraZeneca vaccines by the private sector, and the additional doses of COVID-19 vaccines from the COVAX facility. The largest shipment of Johnson & Johnson vaccines from COVAX facility is also expected to arrive in the country. A total of 3 million doses will be delivered. On July 19 and 26, 900,000 doses of Pfizer vaccines will be delivered in the Philippines, while only one shipment of Moderna vaccines is expected, which consists of 250,000 doses to be delivered from July 21 to July 27.
Ang ating mga vaccine dumadating po during the second week, third week, or fourth week ng buwan. Nakikita po natin na yung record natin from March to July, nakikita natin na pataas na dumodoble ang ating mga numero.
In an interview, Metro Manila Council Chairman and Parañaque City Mayor Edwin Olivares says according to the national government, additional vaccine supplies will be sent to LGUs on the second or third week of the month to continue the vaccination program in National Capital Region. JP Nunez, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The government's vaccine experts have recommended widening the interval between 2 doses of Russia's Sputnik V COVID-19 vaccine to 42 days. Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo said the Gamaleya Research Institute has filed an application to amend the Emergency Use Authorization, or EUA, for its COVID-19 vaccine to increase the interval between doses to 90 days from just 21 days. But Philippine vaccine experts only recommend a maximum dose interval of 42 days after evaluating the data submitted by the vaccine manufacturer. The FDA has yet to issue the amended EUA of Sputnik V.
We have enough reason to believe that the results are going to be very good. Huwag po kayong matakot dahil kahit po madelay kayo ng 1 linggo, 2 linggo, or 3 linggo, it's still worth it to get the second dose because it will still improve, and increase your resistance to the COVID-19.
Meanwhile, vaccine experts have started looking into the possibility of using Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine on children aged 3 to 17. Director General Domingo said the evaluation comes after Chinese firm Sinovac Biotech submitted a request to amend its EUA to allow its vaccines use on children. Domingo said vaccine experts may release their decision on Sinovac's request within this month.
The Department of Labor and Employment said that fully vaccinated overseas Filipino workers will have to undergo validation if inoculated outside the Philippines. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Returning overseas Filipino workers would now have to stay in quarantine hotels upon arriving in the Philippines for just 7 days. It is one of the adjustments made by the IATF from the previous 10-day quarantine and 14 days when the implementation of restrictions started. This is provided that the OFW is fully vaccinated and validated by the Philippine Overseas Labor Office in their country of destination.
Pag na-determine nila na talagang bakunado yung ating mga OFW, they can issue the certification.
OFW should bring their vaccination card, valid passport, or travel document and verified employment contract. Application for validation may be applied at One Health Pass portal. Bello said the reduction of 3 days stay in quarantine hotel would mean lesser cost for the government and extra time for OFW's families.
Malaking bagay sa OWA dahil mabawasan yung gastos ng hotel, quarantine, food, medicine, and to the OFW, ang laking bagay yan sa emotional burden nila.
Dole recorded around 605,000 OFW repatriated since the pandemic started, and around 30 to 40,000 is expected to also return into the country. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The government's pandemic task force is set to discuss once again the travel protocols within the Philippines for fully vaccinated individuals. Department of Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said that a traveler needs to present a negative RT-PCR test result when going to their destination if the local government unit or LGU requires it. This is regardless of their vaccination status. According to the DOH, Secretary Duque was referring to Interagency Task Force or IATF Resolution number 101, where it is up to the LGU if they will still require testing. Last July 4, Malacanang announced IATF Resolution number 124B, allowing vaccination cards as sufficient alternatives to any testing requirements before travel or upon arrival at the LGU of destination. However, some local government units expressed their hesitation to this new policy. The members of the IATF are set to resolve this matter tomorrow.
The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology continues to monitor the increasing unrest of Taal Volcano. According to PHIVOLCS, the Reste volcano still poses a threat of a big eruption. Asher Cadapan Jr. explains why.
Indications that magma and gas upwelling in Taal Volcano are still evident with small and weak eruptions in its main crater. Today, FIVOX recorded phreatomagmatic eruptions in the volcano as magma interacts violently with water in its crater.
Nagkaroon ng 5 phreatomagmatic explosion na yung Taal Volcano. Yung mga explosions na yun, medyo maliliit lang naman at mahina as compared nung explosion nung July 1. Posible may magma sa mababaw na parte ng Taal Volcano, may interaction sa tubig, kaya nagja-generate siya ng mga ganong explosions.
The eruptions happened between 5 a.m. and noon. It generated plumes of ash and other volcanic materials rose to about 200 to 300 meters above the crater. Yesterday, FIVOX also recorded 55 volcanic earthquakes and 44 low-frequency volcanic tremors. About 7,500 metric tons of sulfur dioxide gas was also emitted on the same day. With all these volcanic activities, Taal Volcano remains under Alert Level 3, which means that big eruptions may occur at any time. The agency reminds affected residents to evacuate the Taal Island and the concerned communities near the lake. Residents, however, have been cooperative and voluntarily evacuate for their own safety.
Dahil nakakatakot naman po, wala kaming sasakyan. Kung kami po'y mabigla, paano kami? May mga kambal kami.
In case the eruption becomes worse, evacuees and residents staying within the 14-kilometer radius danger zone have also been preparing for immediate evacuation.
Opo, nakaredy na po sila. Halos sa mga tao po ay nakahanda na po ang mga damit nila. May mga kanya-kanya na po lalagyan.
Authorities, however, are stringently restricting people to enter the high-risk areas identified by FIVOX. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines urged the United Nations and the International Criminal Court to investigate and hold liable President Rodrigo Duterte and some officials over the government's war on drugs. Dante Amento tells us why.
In its second report, the International Coalition for Human Rights in the Philippines, or ICHRP, blames government forces allegedly behind the killings of drug suspects, and it is enabled by President Rodrigo Duterte. ICHRP has stressed state agents such as the PNP continues to cover up incidents of killing in anti-drug operations, intimidate the families and witnesses, obstruct review of drug cases by the Justice Department. Political dissenters against government's policies are killed. Based on data released by the government last December 2020, a total of 6,011 were killed in anti-drug operations. But the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner data show that on March 2020, there were allegedly 8,663 killings in the Philippines, and only the case of 17-year-old Kian de los Santos had conviction. Meanwhile, the group calls the government war on drugs as war on poor people as against human rights defender, farmers, peasant leaders, and ordinary citizens in the guise of anti-drugs campaign. ICHRP recommends to the United Nations that President Duterte should be held liable over the killings perpetrated by the law enforcers, which reinforced by his public statements to kill drug users. The group also urges the International Criminal Court, or ICC, to pursue the investigation against the president over the alleged crime against humanity of murder in the Philippines. The ICHRP will release its final report on the alleged human rights violations in the Philippines on September 2021 during the 48th session by United Nations Human Rights Security Council. Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, an airplane en route to the north of Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, lost control with controls officers and was later found to have crashed. Maven Dog tells us the details live. Yes, Maeve?
Kath, no survivors were found in the aftermath of a Russian plane crash, killing all 28 individuals, 22 passengers, and 6 crew members on the airplane, according to Russian rescue officials. The Emergencies Ministry detailed that the plane departed from the regional capital, Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky, and was en route to a village north of Kamchatka Peninsula called Palana, where contact was lost on Tuesday with air traffic control. And of the 22 passengers, one was Olga Mokireva, the mayor of Palana. Weather conditions were cloudy at the region the plane lost contact. This decreased visibility has assumed to be the result of the plane crashing against a cliff as it prepared to land. An investigation has been launched into safety compliance of the plane. Kath?
Yes, Maeve, what type of airplane crashed in Russia?
Kath, the aircraft was the Antonov AN-26 twin-engined turboprop. This is a Soviet-era plane type which was in service since 1982. Now, over the 50 years of which the plane has been used for military or non-military flights, it has encountered many deadly crashes. Back to you, Kat.
Thank you, Mavian Dog, reporting live from Kingaroy, Queensland, Australia. The plan to bomb the city, organized by advocates for Hong Kong's independence from China, has been uncovered by the authorities. Marvy Dauphin will give us the details live. Go ahead, Marvy.
Kath, the Hong Kong authorities have arrested 9 people yesterday and confiscated evidence pointing to a scheme to bomb train stations, court buildings, and tunnels in the city. According to Steve Lee, the senior superintendent of the National Security Team, the people arrested include high school students, a high school employee, and a university staff member between 15 and 29 years old, who are believed to be advocates for the city's independence from China. Superintendent Lee added that the alleged plan aimed to target crowds as the suspects scouted some of the city's most important infrastructures. The police found the hotel room in Jimja Choi that the suspects rented to build the explosives and uncovered triacetone triperoxide, or TATP, which is a powerful high explosives that was used in Paris and Brussels bomb attacks. Authorities also confiscated an operation manual and cash amounting to about $11,600 and froze over $77,000 in bank accounts tied to the suspects. Kath?
Marvy, is this the first time that an act of terrorism occurred in Hong Kong?
Kath, this is not the first time that an act of terror occurred in Hong Kong. In an announcement, Hong Kong Chief Executive Carrie Lam warned about the terrorist activities. Since the national security law had been legislated last 2019, the authorities thwarted several bomb attack plots and disarmed bombs found in a middle school. Back to you, Kath.
Thank you, Marvy Dauphin, reporting live from Perth, Australia. Are you getting weary of the pandemic travel restrictions? Well, the city of Vilnius, Lithuania has an interesting solution, a real-time portal to another city. Here's why, as Airly Briones reports.
A company called Portal, through the use of digital technologies such as large screens and cameras, have opened virtual doors between Vilnius and Lublin, two capital cities of Lithuania and Poland. The digital doors allow the two capital cities to connect and interact real-time through live feeds, even if they are 370 miles apart. The digital doors are located centrally in the train stations of both capitals, allowing for more people to try and boost tourism. The technology took 5 years to develop. The portal can be considered as a bridge between the two countries that aims to help resolve prejudices and historical disagreements. More virtual doors could be installed, such as between Reykjavik and Vilnius, and also between Vilnius and London. Early Briones, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Kat Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Good evening.
And back to the news inside the Philippines. The Department of Tourism started inoculating tourism workers in Boracay Island, expecting to effectively boost the country's tourism industry. The DOT have picked Boracay as it is one of the most visited tourist destinations in the country. Marvin Calas details this report live. Marvin, good evening. How many tourism workers are subject for the inoculation?
Yes, William, about 3,000 tourism workers at hotels, restaurants, and other tourism frontline personnel are subject for vaccination by the Department of Tourism in the aim of acquiring protection against COVID-19. Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat and National Task Force Deputy Chief Implementer Secretary Vince Dizon personally went to Boracay to to personally lead the vaccination of tourism workers. The first to be vaccinated includes over 2,000 employees of various accommodation establishments in the island, more than 300 restaurant workers, 140 tourist transport, and more than 300 tourism frontline personnel such as tour guides, boatmen, e-trike drivers, airport and seaport employees, including water sports providers, were also included. The vaccinees were chosen by the local government of Malay Aklan. Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat says it is important to start the vaccination of workers in the industry to boost the country's tourism. The official added that it provides a good impression and entices tourists to visit the most known tourist destination in the Philippines.
We hope that yung ating tourism frontliners ang mapapabakunahan kasi the nature of the job is face-to-face. As much as we want it online, hindi kayang hindi online, especially the waiters, everybody here.
The Tourism Department also requested other tourist destination sites in the country to provide vaccinating workers or to prioritize vaccinating workers in the tourism sector.
We hope to be able to vaccinate the whole of Boracay, but we've also already started in Bohol, and we're also asking yung different tourist destinations, ilan ba yung tourism frontlines nila? Kaya kahit ka paunti-unti, matulungan na sila mapabakunahan, so eventually, they can eventually accept also fully vaccinated from abroad.
Local government data shows that Boracay has a total of 5,000 tourism workers, 7,000 frontline workers, and about 40,000 residents needed to be vaccinated. The local government in the province assured its preparedness for the vaccination rollout when additional vaccine supplies arrives. The LGU had already provided an ultra-low freezer intended for sensitive vaccines such as Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. RT-PCR tests are still required at the time being for incoming tourists while awaiting for the system to be used in validating vaccination cards. William Secretary Puyat reiterates that vaccination of tourism workers as well as following the health protocols benefits not only the residents but also the tourists in preventing the spread of COVID-19 virus in all tourist destinations in the country. That's our latest live. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you very much. Marvin Callas reporting live.
And before we close, we will leave you with the final word, giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 28, verse 6, it says, "Better is the poor that walketh in his uprightness than he that is perverse in his ways, though he be rich." And those are the reasons behind the news, July 7, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.